Hello boys and girls, welcome to this lesson. We'll talk about number system and the basic number properties. Let's talk about natural numbers. Natural numbers are also known as counting numbers. They begin from 1, continue through 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. They're used to count stuff. Did you know that animals also use these numbers for counting? It's basically used for counting objects that you can see. For example, 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples, 4 apples, 5 apples, and so on. Let's talk about whole numbers. Whole numbers are nothing but natural numbers with the addition of 0. So, for a number system to be whole, it contains 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. The concept of 0 introduces the null object. It means that you have no objects. So the concept of no objects is also considered in this number system. For example, I have 0 apples, 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples, 4 apples, 5 apples, and so on. Let's talk about negative numbers. Negative numbers are basically the absence of a number. Examples are -1, -2, -3, and so on. To illustrate this point, let's talk about the boy in the red shirt. Let's say that he has no apples to begin with. If he gets 2 apples, the final tally of apples he has remaining with him would be 1 and 2 apples. Let's talk about the boy in the blue shirt. Let's say that he begins with -2 apples. That means he doesn't have or absence of 2 apples. And let's give him 3 apples. The first apple that we give him goes away. The second apple that we give him goes away. And finally, the third apple remains. So basically, he is left with 1 apple. Now let's talk about the properties of numbers. We begin with the associative property in addition. So let's take 3 numbers, 10, 5, and 2, and let's say we add those 3 numbers. We can add them in 2 ways. The first way would be adding 10 and 5 together first, followed by 2. Or we can add 5 and 2 first, followed by adding the whole thing with 10. So this gives us 15 plus 2 or 10 plus 7. Notice that the values are both same. This is known as the associative property in addition. It means that no matter what the order of addition, the answer always remains the same. Please note that this law applies only to addition. Let's talk about the associative property in multiplication. It's similar to the associative property in addition, and let's take the same 3 numbers, so 10, 5, and 2. So we begin with multiplying 10 and 5 together first, or 5 and 2 together first. And the answer is 100. So no matter which order you begin the multiplication or end the multiplication, the answer always remains the same. This concept is known as the associative property in multiplication. Please note, like addition, you cannot mix operations. All the operations have to be multiplication. Let's talk about subtraction and associativity. Let's see if subtraction and the associative property holds true. We use the same 3 numbers again, and we try to subtract 5 from 10 and subtract 2 from the whole thing. Or we subtract 2 from 5 and subtract the answer from 10. Notice that both ways of subtraction give us different answers. So this means that subtraction and associativity do not hold true. which means that the associative law is not true for subtraction. Let's talk about division and associativity. So we use the numbers 50, 10, and 5, and we divide them first, 50 divided by 10, and then divided by 5, or 10 divided by 5, and 50 divided by the result of this. This gives us two separate answers again. So this means that the associative property doesn't hold true for division as well. Let's talk about the commutative property. This property holds true for multiplication and addition. And it says, so if you have three different numbers, if you multiply them in different orders, shift the orders around, the answers remain the same. The same holds true for addition as well. This property is not true for subtraction or division. Finally, we talk about the distributive property. The distributive property states that multiplication distributes over addition and subtraction. To illustrate this point, let's talk about 3 multiplied by 4 plus 5 plus 6. This is the same as 3 multiplied by 4 plus 3 multiplied by 5 plus 3 multiplied by 6. This is the distributive property of multiplication. The same holds true in case you have subtraction as well. So 5 multiplied by 5 minus 6 plus 7 means 5 into 5 minus, because of this minus sign, 5 into 6 plus 5 into 7. The distributive property doesn't hold true for division or any other operation. It works only in the fashion described here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the video and would like to see other videos, subscribe, comment, and like. Thanks, and until the next lesson. Bye.